of the aid available to the City of Madison for direct rental assistance, with the balance going to support the work of community partners for other services that promote housing stability. Now I would like to turn it over to County Executive Joe Parisi.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. As we all know, the pandemic's had many impacts on our community and across the nation, be it illness, job loss, income insecurity, and particularly hard hit have been people who were struggling before the pandemic, people in the service industries and other areas hit by the economic downturn. People are struggling with unemployment, food insecurity, and the threat of losing their housing. And while the vaccine brings hope on the horizon, people are scared, people are struggling, and they need our help now. Recently, we announced the additional assistance for small businesses as well as local food pantries in the millions of dollars, working to help keep our small businesses open and to make sure that the food shelves are stocked as we go through the worst and hopefully the end phase of the pandemic. And families who are facing eviction. As you may recall, last summer, Dane County was able to infuse $10 million from the First CARES Act into the community for eviction prevention. This was incredibly needed at the time, and it's been even more so needed this fall as people are falling behind in their rent again. And as a result of the most recent federal legislation, Dane County will receive approximately $8.5 million and partner with the city to provide a total of over $16 million in assistance to those in greatest need. We've been working with the County Board's leadership and hope for swift action to approve these funds. We anticipate that the approval should happen within the next couple of weeks. These dollars, combined with our recent increase in aid to food pantries and small businesses, once again partner with the Tenant Resource Center to get our eviction prevention dollars out the door and to the people who need it most. And joining us today is Robin Sereno, the Executive Director of the Tenant Resource Center, and she's going to have a few remarks about their side of the equation. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me here. As we continue to move through these unparalleled times, every one of us at the Tenant Resource Center continues to diligently work to ensure that all residents remain safely and stably housed, just as we've done for the past 40 plus years. As many are aware, Dane County has long faced a housing crisis, with many residents having to spend too large a proportion on their income on rent and too few choices available for affordable units. The COVID-19 pandemic turned this long-time housing problem into an overnight emergency for us, forcing many residents into unsafe living situations, whether that be actual homelessness, doubling up with family or friends, or having to relocate during this health crisis. All result in significantly increased risk to each and every one of us. This pandemic has further forced an unprecedented and disproportionate financial burden on our low-income renters through no fault of their own. Through our continued partnership with the county and with the city, we will be able to efficiently and effectively disperse millions of dollars of rental assistance throughout the community, much as we did over that 12-week period this past summer. Although details of the emergency rental assistance program are not quite finalized, we're planning to begin this application process the first week of February. I'd like to make sure that the major takeaway from this announcement today is that rental assistance is coming. I'd further urge tenants and landlords to please work together to keep everyone in their housing and hold steady. I know it's been a long 10 months. It feels like years in all honesty to most of us. This housing crisis, this pandemic, the general state of our nation has pushed all of us to our limits. But I also know it's brought out some incredible change and attention for the need to partner in ways that truly serve all of our community. We are deeply invested here at the TRC in being part of this important change work. Throughout 2020, we received feedback, both positive and negative, about the former CARES rental assistance program that we facilitated. We've taken that feedback and been planning for months about how to improve upon the process and better serve the community as a whole. We didn't know whether TRC would be involved again or not, but we've been working to share this information with the city and the county and the United Way, knowing that they're the primary funders throughout our community. Well, there are certainly some different pieces to this specific rental assistance. We aim to create even greater community access and real-time program updates, as we know there's an ever-rising sense of urgency for financial relief, particularly with the CDC moratorium being set to expire and many unknowns ahead for our nation. For those unaware, the TRC housing counselors are responsible for educating and guiding landlords and tenants, service providers through rental rights and responsibilities under the law in Wisconsin, the goal being stable housing for all. Our mediation team works to assist landlords and tenants in coming to agreeable, workable solutions to maintain safe, stable housing, and our eviction prevention connected to resources like rental assistance, legal assistance, case management, and housing navigation, as well as spending time at court throughout the eviction process with folks. We will be adding a minimum of 10 full-time staff members to assist in meeting the goal of being more accessible and responsive from feedback received, and these staff will be both in-house as well as out in the community. This funding allows for landlords to apply on behalf of tenants, so we'll be working closely with both landlords and tenants to ensure both parties are involved and aware of their rights and responsibility, as well as any payments being made on behalf of the tenant to the landlords. We're going to have separate portals of access for tenants and landlords to ensure privacy, as this was a big point of feedback that we received. And additionally, we'll be once again engaging numerous community partners to ensure reducing as many barriers as possible, namely language access and technology access. Again, we're honored to be in partnership with you all, and we're honored to be trusted to assist people in maintaining their housing, health, and safety through eviction prevention. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
All
Robin.
right.
I think we'll take questions now.
As a reminder for the media, just raise your hand and I will call on you one by one for you to ask your question to any of the speakers. Thanks. The first question we have is from Emily. Emily, if you could state your news organization and then ask your question, that would be great. Thanks.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. This is Emily Hamer with the Wisconsin State Journal. I was wondering how the funds are going to be distributed, like how you decide who gets what and when that is going to start. I think you said February it's going to start, but I just want to double check that timeline.
From the city's perspective, we will be introducing a resolution hopefully for the council meeting on the 19th. We're still working on drafting that. And we're hoping to have a process where I should back up and say that, we have all just applied to the federal government for these funds, the city and the county, and still need to receive confirmation on the exact amount. But the city's plan is to have a process for the 10% of the funds that is not going to direct rental assistance, that will involve likely some combination of applications or an RFP. And that will be, more details on that will be introduced to the council either at the 19th meeting or the meeting on February 2nd.
All right, the next question we have is from Abby. Abby, if you could state your news organization before asking your question, that would be helpful.
Hi, everyone. I'm Abby Becker with the Capital Times. Thanks for doing this. My question for you all is about the specific amounts of funding, although I just heard the mayor say we may not know the specific numbers yet. But if someone could just walk me through, I guess, general estimates that individually the city and county are hoping to receive, and then just again, how that might be divided up.
Yeah, thanks, Abby. And Joe, feel free to jump in here, but my understanding is that the city and county each we estimate will receive approximately $8 million. And that under the restrictions of the relief bill, 90% of that must be spent on direct rental assistance. And then there's a short list of other eligible types of programs that the remaining 10% can be spent on. Joe
Yeah, I
or
mean,
Robin,
that's
I don't know if you
understanding.
wanna-
Yeah, that's understanding too. It's a little over 16 million combined, and the dollars will go both in the city of Madison and outside of the city of Madison based on where the need exists. And unfortunately, there's a lot of need out there. But we're estimating in the ballpark about 16.2, 16.3 million total at this point.
And I should say
Great,
that
thank you.
it is, this in no way will meet the full scope of the need in our community. This is, this again just barely scratches the surface of the need that's out there, and the rental arrears and projected future issues with rent that we know about in our community. So while I'm very grateful to the federal government for supplying this aid, it is clear to me that we are going to need both the state and federal governments to continue to provide rental assistance specifically and COVID relief money more broadly to our community.
Yeah, we've been in contact with the state because, as was mentioned earlier, I believe they too have received funding for eviction prevention from the previous legislation. And we fully anticipate with the new Congress and our new president being sworn in that there will be a hopefully robust package to come. So what we're doing now, you could think of as a bridge, a very important bridge that will keep people in their homes. But we want to get this money out the door as quickly as possible in full anticipation that there will be more dollars coming from the state and the federal government to follow to address the remainder of the need.
All right, I believe our next question is from Savannah. Savannah, if you could please state your news organization before asking your question.
Hi, everybody. Savannah Tomei, Spectrum News, Wisconsin. My question is probably best directed toward Robin. Can you, just for comparison's sake, so we can kind of give people an idea of how that money helped last year, last spring, like how much that funding was and how many people that helped keep in their homes or apartments?
Sure, I'm happy to answer that. So through the county cares funds that we received, 9.6 million of it was direct financial assistance for community members, and that helped a little over 17,000 individuals in Dane County, throughout Dane County, to maintain their housing. So about 2/3 of those were in the city of Madison and about 1/3 outside, which kind of matches the amount of tenants or renters rather inside and outside of the city of Madison.
Thank you.
All right, I believe our next question is from Nikki. Nikki, if you could please state your news organization before asking your question.
Nikki, you may be muted on your end.
All right, I think our next question is from Matthew. Matthew, if you could please state your news organization before asking your question.
Hi there, this is actually Francisco Almenara with 27 News, same organization, just different reporter on it. My question kind of goes along with Savannah's from before. That is you said about over $9 million was already available for folks and did help. Where would you quantify the current need as it stands now?
I can take this one, since that's what we do. So right now, the current need, the projections based on unemployment and kind of the rent rolls, which is the amount of rent that's paid, are right around $40 million is the need as of December 31st. So kind of going forward, it's a little over $5 million a month is about the need for Dane County for rental assistance. But we have to think about that $40 million of back-owed rent. So this would be about 22%. If the 16 million was put to rental assistance, that would meet about 22% of the back-owed rent right now.
All right, and then just a final call. If anyone else would like to raise their hand to ask a question, we'll wait a couple of seconds.
Ariana, I'm going to try Nikki again.
Are you there, Nikki?
Nikki, we see you as unmuted on our side, but we can't hear you. Do you want to chat your question? Ariana, maybe we could go on to one of the other two and come back to Nikki's chatted question.
All right, Savannah, I believe you are up next.
I have another question for Robin, just out of curiosity, since it's what you do day in, day out. What are some of the things that the Tenant Resource Center has been hearing from tenants who are struggling to pay rent or are far behind right now?
You know, obviously there's a just great need for rental assistance with folks being hit so deep economically around loss of income and so forth. Other pieces that we're hearing are non-renewals from folks, just kind of as their lease comes up, they're not getting renewed. So the difficulty of trying to find housing without having income is pretty steep. So those are pretty common places. We also hear from landlords of just how they're trying to work with tenants at times, as well as kind of the hard pieces of both parties being as good at communication as there might have once been.
Robin, Nikki's question is about the eligibility for receiving this aid.
So some of that is dictated by the legislature that has been put into place. So it's a bit different than the CARES funding, where we know there are several different pieces, such as proof of loss of income, economic hardship piece, as well as a couple other pieces around proof of risk of homelessness and other things that makes it a little bit different, as well as the piece of landlords being able to apply on behalf of their tenants. So beyond that, the funders, which would be the city or the county, have some leeway in other pieces of eligibility that can put into place. I believe at this point, 50% of county median income and below are folks that are available or that this funding is available for. Other than that, it's really going to depend on kind of the final guidance from the federal government, as well as any other pieces that the city or county put into place to try to spread this money as far as it can go.
So just to recap, what we're looking at right now is folks that make at or less than 50% of area median income. You have to show loss of income and risk of homelessness or housing insecurity to be eligible. And much more information will be available as we get the final rules and regulations from the federal government and develop the program further.
All right, next I believe is Emily.
Hi, I was wondering, back in May, there had been more than 36,000 people in the county that were added to the state's unemployment rolls. Do you have an update on that figure and how many, whether people are getting jobs back now, or if it's even more people unemployed in the county, and how people are being impacted by that?
I don't have the latest in front of me. I mean, I think it's safe to say that people continue to struggle, though. Whereas the longer this goes on, the more small businesses struggle, the more people who have been laid off struggle. Folks who had to wait a very long time for their unemployment continue to struggle. So, it's safe to say the situation has not gotten any better. And that's why this type of assistance is so much needed right now, as well as additional assistance from the state and federal government.
All right, any final questions from anyone? Feel free to raise your hand. I think that's it for questions.
All right. Thank you all very much. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.